to another of the ISM Lunch and Learn webinar series. Today we're going to be looking at Sage Intelligence, a financial report writer that Sage developed to replace FRX financial reporting. Last week we looked at the BizNet product, and this week we are looking at the Sage product. So I'm going to turn everything over to Mr. Bruce Kern out of our Portland office, who is our resident SMI expert. So with that, Bruce, please take it away.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. And can everybody see my screen with the Sage 100 ERP up on the screen? Anybody who cannot see it? Okay, I'm going to assume we're set to go then here. So we're going to get rolling. We've got a lot of ground to cover. There's a lot of functionality here with the product. So what we're going to do is just talk a little bit about it. Sage Intelligence is a new piece that they've added to the system here, and there's actually a menu item for it in the newer versions. And we're looking at the latest and greatest Sage 100 2015 today. So it's got some things right on the menu here. It's Sage's selected choice to replace the FRX report writer. Many of you who are doing upgrades these days are having to go through that transition process. So no doubt that's part of why some of you are here to see this compared to some of your other options. It does have the ability to report on all modules, not just the general ledger, although the general ledger and financial reporting, as Sherry mentioned, is the primary use of it at this point. But it does have some other stuff in it, and we'll take a look at some of the stock reports today just to kind of give you a flavor for some of that. And it does have the ability to do multi-company consolidations. And with that in mind, we're going to get rolling and talk a little bit about the basic pieces here. So Sage Intelligence comes with kind of 4 basic components. And under the setup folder here, we've basically got a license manager. This is just where we put your license information in. There's a security manager. This is where you can restrict access to certain reports within the Sage Intelligence. There's also access to control access to the whole Sage Intelligence through the normal role security, which you're familiar with. There is something called a connector here, and this is a piece that can be used to create a container of information that can then be used to write your own reports. So everything we're looking at today comes with the stock containers that come right out of the box right when we install it. So we're not going to be working with the connector today. That's not the focus of today's demo, but that capability is there. So hypothetically, an example of what you could do with the connector is if you had, I don't know, an Access database or something, you could create a data container that pulled that data into it for Sage Intelligence, and then you could write reports for it in there. A couple other pieces that we have here are the report viewer and the report manager. So the report viewer is a access point to view reports that have been created, and the report manager is where we're going to spend our time today. This is where you can not only view the reports, but you can also maintain those reports. So we're going to use this. This is going to be the primary focus of today. With that said, we're going to go ahead and jump in here. All right, so the report manager, and this is demo data we're using today, and then it's dated period 5 of 2020. A little forward thinking there, so we'll try to use the 2020 date today when we're running reports. Okay, so this is kind of the starting point for the report manager. Again, let's remind you what it does. It runs stock reports that comes with the system. It lets you define your own reports. It lets you save reports and creates reports from scratch. So the sort of the organization here is you'll see some folders on the left. Generally, there's a properties area on the right, and these are one-level folders. So the folders here that are capitalized are ones that I've added, but if we look at the other ones, those are all folders that come with reports, stock right out of the can. And that's one of the things that distinguishes Sage Intelligence from BizNet is that BizNet doesn't come with any reports out of the can, from what I've been told. So one of the things that we'll see here, if we open up some of these folders, we see generally a couple different colored icons here. You're probably wondering what those are. So these are the green icons are referred to as union reports. These are a little bit more complicated reports that use dissimilar data sources or have, merge rows of data in them. The blue reports are more of your standard type reports that use a single data container. And there's even a third type of report in here that you might see from time to time called a cube report. That has a yellow icon. If you're familiar with cube reports, they put data into a cube file, a CUB file, and then it's another way to use it to write reports. So one of the key concepts here is the fact that some of these reports are locked for editing right out of the can. So what we're going to do here is we're going to show customer sales here. So let me shrink this up so I can navigate easier. So under sales, customer sales, if we click on this stock report that comes with the system, we see the big lock icon and the properties is grayed out. It's telling us we don't have ability to modify this report. So we could just run this report and we'd be fine, but if we want to modify a report, we actually have to copy it somewhere else. And we can copy it right here, but for today's purposes, we're going to go ahead and make our own folder, and we're going to say we're going to be Bob today. So it's simple enough to create a folder there. All you have to do to unlock one of these, if you do want to make changes, is just tell it you want to copy it, and you paste it wherever it is you want to put it. In this case, I'm using the right-click menu, but you can also use icons across the top if you're more comfortable with the icons. And so now that we have it copied, we see all the properties lighted up and the various tabs across the top, and we can work with the report a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do is just play with this. We'll talk more about these a little later. We'll actually write a report from scratch if we get time, and we'll talk about each one of these little tabs in here. For now, we're just going to introduce you to the concept of running a report. And again, we're going to put in our demo data here. So let's make this 2020. Might as well do May 1st. And then I'll just, since we're past that time here, I can just update this. And basically, you've got a little status area at the bottom. You can see it's doing some activity on the right side of that screen. And it's basically going out there and building the report for us. Okay, so this is a very kind of the home screen. You'll see this a lot today in today's demonstration. Almost all the reports come with a home screen. Excellent way to get help here. If you were to go into, say, the Getting Started, it's just chock full of at your fingertips availability. We're going to go ahead and say yes, just so we can take a quick peek. And it's opening a browser for us, and it's all online content, so it's all kept up to date. Right off the bat, you can see there's a ton of videos and things that you can do to get additional help. There's even a video here on how to convert your FRX reports. It's short and sweet, and it's fairly easy to do. Enough of that. Here is the working end of this report. I'm going to go ahead and zoom this up because I know it's small. So typical out of the can report. Some of the things you'll see a lot of these drop-down buttons in here, so you can filter data. So if I wanted to look, for example, at only, regular inventory items, which I happen to know happen to have the item type of a 1, I can go ahead and change that. You'll see lots of data filters in the reports. Pretty stock stuff from for anybody who's used much Excel. You also have a lot of data groupings in here. You'll see this throughout the system. So you'll have, and it's very small, I know, on the screen, but there's little plus and minus signs. These are just, your classic groupings of data, so I can expand and contract detail if I want to. Another really common feature of the Sage Intelligence reports. All right. So let's see here. If I wanted to modify this report some, what are some things I might do? Here's my little pivot table fields list. So if I want to do something simple like add a field to it, as long as it was in my report setup, I can do that. I just added the item code right there. Now I can actually see my item codes if I want that to go with the description, for example. Let's see here. Another thing we might do is change the color scheme or something else. Let's just change a couple more things here real quick, and then we'll save our report. We'll see what the process of saving a report is. We're going to do a white with like a bluish background here. And then, whoops, back to here. Maybe I want to insert a company logo, so I'll throw it quick. And then we'll save our report. All right, so how you save a report in Sage Intelligence after you've built it from scratch or modified an existing one is you come back to your report manager here and you just tell it, I want to save my Excel template. There's also a right-click menu for that. It'll give you a couple prompts here, so I'm going to pick the report I want, and I'll just accept the defaults on these next couple screens. And it will tell me when I'm successful. There it is. And sure enough, we can just rerun this report real quick just to see if it did, in fact, save our changes. All right, let's see how much of that it saved. Sometimes when I do the header rows all in one fell swoop like that, sometimes a couple of them will need a little manual work themselves. But in this case, everything just went really well. We saved a few minor changes, done. So that's the concept of modifying, copying, and saving a report in Sage Intelligence. Not too difficult. All right, let's look at a different report here. Let's see here. Let's do let's go to the financials. Let's look at a financial trend analysis. We'll do a couple different things on this one. Okay. There's our 2020. Let it rip. Okay, another out-of-the-can report here. Trend analysis, if we come over here, I'll blow this up a little bit more for you so you can see. Now this report is one where we just pick something from this account list that it's reading. So we'll just pick one here that I happen to know happens to have some data. And, you know, again, it's a classic little chart here. If you want, one of the things that's really cool about Sage Intelligence is that anything that's returned by a formula has a drill down. So if I'm on the current period 5, let's say, and I click this drill down button, I will get some details here. And there's the drill down with all the data in here. And again, kind of hard to see, but I can go through here and see all the different entries and note that they're all posting to period 5. So this is what's called a dynamic drill down, which means it doesn't matter what I click on. I could click on a prior year, period 2, for example, and it will automatically drill down on whatever cell I'm clicking on. So dynamic in the sense that I don't have to tell it I'm drilling down on period 5 now. I just click wherever I want and I get the data. Another cool thing to be able to do, because so many of the things are Excel based and there's a lot of charts, or the ones you create yourself or out of the can, another thing we could do really easily is we could modify the color scheme on these to suit our own preferences. So pretty simple with a couple clicks. You know, we can change the whole look of that chart if we don't like what we get out of the can. I'm not going to bother saving that. I'm going to go close this and move on to the next example. Got an action-packed one today. Okay, another out-of-the-can report, and then we'll transition into some more financial stuff soon. Let's see, we're going to look at the dashboard analysis. So there's a dashboard here. They give you a free dashboard. I like to show this one because it's a nice report, but it also paints a little bit of the picture of what you could possibly do on your own. So current year start date, that's actually January 1st in this demo data. And let's see, we'll just make that. And I guess we need to give it a budget. We'll let it run. Okay, up it comes. So some of the reports will actually have instructions in them. So if you want to, it's always good to read the instructions. This one talks about the different types of drill downs that are included in here, so it won't bother reading through the instructions on a demo. Here is the dashboard that you get right out of the can. You know, we've already shown you how to change the look and feel of the charts, so you can definitely do that. One of the things that you can do on this one here is it has a couple different types of drill downs built into it. So if we go to the top 5 customers and we highlight a customer and we do the drill down, this is one where it's a little less dynamic. We actually have to tell it what it is we want to drill down on, and it'll know that we're on the one we highlighted, but we still have to tell it. So we'll execute and we'll get a drill down and get that customer's data here. But this one's got some nice you know, inventory type data, and there's our drill down. It's demo data. Typically there'd be more lines there, but it is what it is. And as you can see, a very colorful, nice little chart to show. Right out of the can. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some more about financials, probably what most or many of you are here to see. All right. So under the financials, there is a finance report designer. And what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this to work with it and put it right in here under Bob's reports. Expand that up here, and I'm just going to rename this just to show you that. So if I want to rename something, it's pretty simple to do. There it is. I'll just accept the defaults. There it is. So you don't have to leave it as copy of. All right, so we're going to run this bad boy out here, and we're going to take a look at what we can do. So there are 2 primary ways of getting financial reports. And some of them come pre-designed that come with the system, and those are some layout generator reports. We're going to see those in a minute. And there's another capability where we can literally build reports from scratch. So if you're more the techie type that likes to build things from scratch, you can certainly do that. We're going to do some of both here today. So it's loading in our report designer add-in. And so again, the same starting point, tab with some good instructions on it. This is the part where it talks about the 2 different methods. So the layout generator is talking about kind of the left side. Do you want to take something that's already built and work with it or use it, or do you want to do something more out of the can? So what we're going to do is we're going to start by talking about the layout generator. And to do that, all I have to do is if I come over here to the, this is called the task pane on the right side, and we'll be playing with this today. As we open this up, we'll see that we've got some different kind of categories. We've got a layouts category, and it's showing us some financial reports. We've got lists here that we can do things with, formulas, trees, and we're going to be using all of those today. But here's your pre-built, out-of-the-can stuff with the layout generator, and if I want to populate, I want to make one of these come out, all I got to do is just click on it or just drag it over here to my main screen here, and it's going to go out there and build that report for me just the way it came right out of the can. So this is, you know, literally runs right out of the can right when we install it. And it's telling us it's successful. Let's talk a little bit more about this particular report. So, and right now I noticed it populated no data, so that's because it's pulled in 2018 for some reason. So let's go ahead and give it the demo data, and there's our numbers. All right, so a couple common things that you'll see and or that you can do with your financial reports. Detail groups. So right now we're on the fully summarized detail group. That's group number 1 here in the upper left. If I click on the 2 there, I see the expansion of all the detail. So if I go back to 1, I could certainly expand each group one by one, or I can just go back and forth to see it fully expanded or fully contracted. And I'm going to just move this out of the way a little bit here. Give us a little bit more working room. All right, so let's drill down on something. So here's actual 01. So there's our actuals for period 01. A couple different ways of doing drill downs in here. One way is to just right-click and do the drill down. And again, anything that's returned by a formula in theory in Sage Intelligence has a drill down. And notice it put it on its own little tab here. If I come back here and I come over to period 5, this is more of your dynamic style drill down where it'll just let me drill down on whatever it is I'm clicked on. So here's period 5 actual. Let's see if we can get some numbers for period 5 to come in. And there they are. There's my period 5 numbers. Sure enough, everything was posted to 531. And I don't have to keep these. I'm going to delete those drill downs just to keep it clean. But I could keep them if I wanted to. All right, let's talk a little bit about reporting trees. So one of the things we can do with our list over here is we have reporting trees. So just to digress for a moment, let's take a look at how our system's set up, and we're going to do something kind of silly that probably wouldn't happen in real life, but we're going to go look at the sub-account maintenance, and we're going to talk about locations and how the system is set up and how we want to be able to report by location. So if we look at our location segment in the general ledger, this is basically what we have set up. We've got an east, a west, a corporate, and no location. All right, so that's kind of what we're doing. That's what we're working with. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at some of these trees. So right now, we're just taking a kind of a preview of what the tree looks like. And this is what we're going to end up with. But let's go back and let's manage these trees for a moment and just talk about the tree capability. So here's my ABC locations. We're going to go in here and take a look. So what I did is I just came in here and I told it that any account that ends in an 04, based on my general ledger setup, that's a corporate identifier. Any account ending in the 01 is your east, the 02 is your west, no locations is 00, and an 03. And what I can do here at this upper left area of my tree is I can basically arrange the branches on the tree any way I like. So out of the can, it would be like this. So, and when I highlight this and I tell it your mask is everything ending in 04, I can see all the accounts it's going to bring in when I do that. And as I combine the branches in any way, I can still see that kind of detail down below, so in case I'm wondering, well, what's it going to roll up where? And the idea here is I can just move these branches around wherever I want to get the reporting roll up the way I want it. So this is something that out of the can it doesn't do very well. So we're going to just put our tree back to the way we want it, which is a tree where we've got east and west reporting to the corporate. So I'm going to move east up here under corporate. We're going to put central on its own. And no location will also be on its own. So now we're back with the east and the west tucked underneath. And we're just going to say apply or save and OK. And then all we have to do, if I scroll back over here, is we're just going to apply it. So we're going to go to the quick edit. And so there's some icons here under the BI tools that you get, and we're just going to go to the quick edit, and this is the report that we're working with, so we'll launch that one. And this is where this report comes in from the layout generator, so we're just going to add some values here. and then we're going to rerun that report. And we're going to do it for, I guess we'll just do corporate for now. Get the East and the West roll up in there. And then we're going to click the Generate button. So now it's adding a new tab now to the existing report we already ran out, only this time it's running it with a reporting tree for the corporate entity. And here it comes. It's done. Didn't take very long. And really what we're checking for here is the details to see if, did we get all our corporate accounts ending in 04? Yep, I see 04 with some dollars in it. And did we also get our East and our West, which is our 01 and our 02? And sure enough, those are the accounts that are showing data here. So that's how we could do that. Another way of doing that is I'm just going to move or copy and put this on the end. So there's a mirror image of what we just had. And if I want to bring over, let's say, the central now, I can just drag that right over here, and there's my central numbers. Now notice it's populated the central, and I've got some other accounts I don't want here, a lot of blank space. I'd probably do some filtering at that point to bring it back down if I was going to keep planning it to keep it that way. All right, so that's a little bit on the layout generator and running stock reports out of the system. You can spend a whole day just on the layout generator, but we're going to move on to the task pane. And what's cool about the task pane, I'm going to start up another sheet here, is that I can use the layout generator in conjunction with the task pane, and I can use them separately or together or interchangeably. So we'll come back here, back to our trees. And we're going to do some stuff now with the task pane. So now notice we're starting with a completely blank Excel workbook now. So this is how you could build them from scratch. And we're going to start with, I usually start with the list. So I'm just going to bring over the accounts. So here's the accounts. I just drag that over here. And what I'm going to do here is, I guess we could probably zoom this up a little. I'm just going to get rid of all the accounts I don't want to work with, which in this case is my balance sheet accounts. So I'll just highlight those rows, make them go away. And we're going to get rid of all the other stuff over here, these columns of data. And I can use all of these columns to do certain things depending on what I want to do in Sage Intelligence. We'll actually do a report later if we get time where we'll do a balance sheet using category codes that doesn't even use GL accounts at all. So we're going to blow out the columns we don't need either. So now we've got enough here to work with. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring a formula over. And there's our actual. So we're going to label that actual. And then we're going to take a look at how the formulas work. So just like in standard Excel, there's a formula kind of builder here. And Sage Intelligence needs to know at least three things. It needs to know what company you're reporting on, what year and what period. And it needs to know, of course, what the accounts are or something to tell it how to roll up the dollars when it finds them. So a couple different ways of doing this kind of thing here. The less elegant way to do it is I can hard code accounts in here. And I can also add ranges and do things like that. So we'll put one in here. And we're going to format it appropriately. And this is revenue, so I'm going to go ahead and add the minus sign to display it as a positive number, just like I normally would. So that returned me a number, which is great, but here's the problem with the number. What if I want to fill that down? It doesn't work so well because it's hard-coded. So a better way to do it would be to use some kind of cell reference. So let's update our formula a little bit, and let's change it to use the actual cell that has the account number or account numbers in it. In this case, is B6. There it is. I've got the same number. Key difference is now I've got numbers that can be filled all the way down. So when and wherever possible, you want to use cell referencing in Sage Intelligence. It makes your life a lot easier. Next one we'll do an example, we'll do the actual year-to-date. It's sort of similar. And let's see here. We'll give it that cell reference B6. And we'll do the same formatting here. And it's almost the same value, but we're going somewhere with this. All right, now another thing we can do is we can actually use a cell to control the period. So we'll just do something like this. Now what I can do over here, I'll update that. The GeoLink is still good. I can still pull this out of here, but if I want to use my report to control it, I can give it a cell reference here too. So I'm going to anchor $E, $1 to anchor that. That means it's always going to look in that cell for the year. And the period, we're going to give it E2. And again, I could fill it down. And now what I've got over here is something a little bit more dynamic, because now when I change the values up here, it changes all my other data in my report. So again, another good technique for using cell referencing. Okay. Now we're going to drag some more stuff out here. We're going to work with some main accounts now. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the ones I don't want. Actually, works better if I drag these up. Okay, and we'll get rid of the columns we don't care about. And we'll see, we'll do an actual year-to-date here too, and then we'll do some comparisons. So let's finish up our formula here. Let's make this one H6. And give it 2. Do our formatting here. All right, now we've got a number here on our main account. And if we were wanting to validate data, or at least cross-check, we'd probably compare it against Sage itself. But let's see if we get a similar number. So that's 2.5 million and change. And here with this one, we basically said, we're just rolling up. Give us all the accounts that start with 400. So let's go compare that to what we got over here for the actual year-to-date. And sure enough, those numbers that I have highlighted there do add up to the 2.5 million that we have there. So point in showing you that is we can do roll-ups really at the main account level fairly simply with one cell, or we could take the individual detail, put it in a group, condense it, expand it so you could see all that. But either way, we can work with it either way there. Okay. All right. I think what we're going to do next is we'll try building a, actually let's do a wildcard example. Let's do something with wildcards. Okay, let's do wildcard. Let's see, we'll do GL actual over here for our formula. And for this one, let's see here. We want to do a wildcard formula that says that you are account 400 followed by any value. Put question marks for that. But you have to end in an 01. And we'll give it the comma formatting. We'll just check this one out too to see if our wildcard example works. So 400, any middle segment number ending in 01. And I think that's this guy. That one. And I think there's another one in here somewhere. That one. Yep, and sure enough, that's what we got. So that's another way of kind of filtering the data to get a single number where you might have detail otherwise, called a wildcard. All right. Now let's do something a little different. Let's build a balance sheet. We'll start a new tab for this. Not even using GL accounts at all. Okay, so we're going to go to find our lists here. And we've got account categories here. We're just going to drag the account categories over. And pretty simple. We're going to do a balance sheet account, so we don't need the income statement stuff, so we're going to just get rid of those. And let's see if we can't build a balance sheet without using any GL accounts. All right, so let's get a formula. Here's a closing balance. Balance sheets use closing balance. And what we're going to do for this one is instead of linking it to a GL account, we're going to link it to a account category code. So I'm just going to tell it you're a C7 and see what we get here. And there it is. We might as well format that. Let's go ahead and just copy that down. And the liabilities, we'll format this in a minute. And we might as well format the equity as a positive number while we're at it. Still needs to get done at some point. And let's see here. There we go. And let's see, here's our actual. Now we need a closing balance formula here. And we'll update our formula. This one's not using a category code. All right. Now let's see if we can't fix this thing up a little bit so it looks like an actual financial statement. They didn't hire me for my typing. And I think we could probably zoom this up a little too. We got plenty of room here. Okay, let's do an underline there. Do an underline there. Start bringing it in so it looks good. All right. And then let's see here. What else do we need to do? We need to give it some titles here. So let's get rid of that stuff. Hide it. And then maybe we'll just do it, I think, probably about here. And again, apply my cosmetic formatting, however you like it. We'll bold a few things up. But I think you're starting to get the idea. And then we'll do one last little thing here. Hey, how about that? It even balances. And we'll do one more thing. We'll put our logo on here. There's my logo. And there you have it, a finished balance sheet in probably less than 10 minutes from scratch, not even using a GL account itself. So again, showing some flexibility that you don't have to necessarily work with the codes. You can roll up at a very high level using the category codes. Okay, enough of that one. If I wanted to, I could save that and it would be ready to go the next time I wanted it. Not going to bother saving it. Next one I'm going to show you is kind of a pre-built one I've got. At least it's started. So we'll show you a couple cool things on this one. Similar type report, built the same way as the balance sheet that we just showed you, except for this is a rolling income statement. With some new wrinkles. Now that drag and drop capability that we just did, that does require the purchase of something called the Report Designer add-in. Just so you know, that's an extra purchase to have that blank drag and drop capability. Okay, here's a report template, sample report I've got. It's very similar in terms of the way the formulas are worked out. The one thing that's different, a couple things I'd like to show on this one is the following. This is one's been laid out really well with the cell referencing. So I always like to show this because if you do your homework right and you build the first column correctly, rolling it out to the rest of your report is really pretty simple. So you want to take the time to build your reports with cell referencing. One of the things that this report does with cell referencing that is pretty cool, I think, is it is using these cells here for the current year and current period to pull all this data. But you also notice that there is rows for the year that goes back based on the values here, 12 periods, and the periods do the same thing. So if I change this period to period 1, for example, I now get 2020 and then goes back to 2019 all the way back until the previous 12 periods. So the values here in these rows are actually updating themselves with, again, cell referencing and or formula. So this is a kind of a quick look at how I did that. I did it kind of an if statement where I said, you know, look at the cell in B3, and if that minus the number of periods back that this column represents is less than 0, then do one thing. If it's not, do another. And basically that's the way these work. So another way to really make a pretty long, wide report very dynamic. So otherwise, without that, you pretty much have to go and update all these things manually. It'd be very difficult. So I always like to show that it's very flexible in that regard. All right, so much for that. All right, building an operations report from scratch. Let's just see what we've got here. We're almost out of time, but let's see if we can squeeze this thing in. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to right click and say we want to add a report, and we're just going to make it a standard report, and we're just going to call it sales by product line or something. And these are the containers that I mentioned at the very beginning of the demonstration. So some of these come with the system, and some of these I actually created. All these payroll ones were ones that I was working with a payroll project on. So we're going to just pick a data container here. We're going to go with see what makes sense here. And there's a description in here. It tells us a little bit. I'm going to guess this is the one we're going to want to work with. This is one, again, one of the predefined containers that comes with the system. So all the stock reports are using one of these pre-built containers. Here's a list of columns that we can pick from that particular container, and we're going to go through and pick a few here. So we'll do AR division. We'll need a customer number. How about a customer name? We'll do an invoice date. Of course, if we're going to do something with product line, we better do the product line. Maybe get the description, how many we sold, and we'll want an extension amount. Okay, so I could have highlighted all those fields pretty quickly with just a select all, but I'm being picky and choosy for my report. And now here it is, and I have access to all the properties. So now what I'm going to do is go through my tabs and kind of make sure that everything is set up the way I think it needs to be. So let's see, I want the extension amount to be my last field, and the rest of it doesn't look too bad. All right, good enough there. I'm going to go over here to the Filters tab. And this is a way for us to filter out what we don't want in the report. So we're going to go ahead and add a filter. And we're going to say we don't want an invoice. We don't want it to report on deleted invoices. So we're going to say, if we can find the invoice type, there's invoice type, is not equal to, and then if we click the little triple button here, it'll say look up a value. It'll go find what it thinks values that it sees in the system, and in this case XD is the one that represents deleted, in case you didn't know that. So we have told that we do not want deleted invoices that are a deleted status, and that's all we're going to do for that one. Let's go over to our parameters tab here. So this is how you do dates. We're going to say we want to start and an end date here. So we're going to just click the add, and we're going to say look for start date. And for anybody who's ever done Crystal, you'll appreciate the simplicity of this, although Crystal's not too bad once you're used to it. And we'll give it an @ sign, and here we've got some pre-built kind of formulas, if you will. So we're going to pick date for that one. And basically what we've done there is say, give me a field that says start date where I enter the date. Now we're also going to want one for end date. So we'll come down here. There's our end date. We pick it. And we'll pick date again. And there it is. Now we've got a start and an end date. I come over here to our sort tab, and let's say we want to sort it by, I don't know, it's a report by product line. Why don't we sort it by product line? Product line. Okay, we'll try that and kind of see what we get here. And we're going to run the report. So here we go. Let's see what we get. So this is not going to be super pretty at first because it's going to generate, basically raw data for us. So let's update this real quick to 2020. And this will be fine. Like so. We'll run this report out. And what this is going to do is going to create a raw data tab. So it doesn't come out nice and finished yet. So it's out there building the raw data tab. And let's see here. we're just going to do, the more you know about pivot tables, the better you'll like this. We're going to do something simple here and say, we're just going to say insert a recommended pivot table, and we're just going to pick one. So let's see here. Those look like product line codes, so we're just going to pick that one. And there's our raw data tab, and there's our raw pivot table. And then from here, we would just pretty this up by however we want with pivot tables. Okay, so let's see here. And I'm going to move this sheet 4 over here to the right position. And let's see, let's put some comma formatting in here. Okay. And let's see, let's say if we want to add something here. Maybe the customer's name would be helpful so we know who bought those things. So there we go, we add the customer name. And then if I want, of course, I could insert my logo, make it look nice, give it a proper title. And let's see, let's do something else. Let's just see. See if we can get it to suggest a chart. Nope, I don't see a chart option. I thought it'd be cool if we could get it to offer a chart. Okay, let's see here. What else? Let's say we wanted to. I don't know. Maybe we wanted to send this report for distribution. Let's talk a little bit about that. And that'll probably be all we're going to have time for. So we'll close out of here. So let's talk about distribution. Okay, let's just save this back to here. Okay. All right. All right, so we're going to come down here. We're going to do one more on distribution. So we're going to distribute this vendor purchases report. So we're going to go ahead and run it out. And we'll give it our dates for 2020. Okay, so there's the report itself. That's not really the focus of this one. So we're going to go to BI Tools, and we're going to talk about managing instructions. And here's one I've got set up for kind of senior management. We're going to go take a look at this one. And basically, there's 3 options. You can do an email, a file publish, or an FTP. You can do all 3. So if I was going to enable the email distribution for this particular report, this is where I would set that up. I would just check the box, give it the 2s, tell it what we want here. In my virtual machine, I don't have email set up, so that won't work for me, but a file publish will. So here we've got a file published example. We've told it, the name of it, what format we want it in. Notice you can get this in Excel or PDF or these other types. And there's an option here to convert each worksheet to a static value, or I can actually distribute this with the actual Sage Intelligence formulas embedded in it. So most people will do static if they're distributing, but you don't have to. And then I can do separate ones here if I want, and if I was going to set up FTP, that's where I do it there. So we're just going to say that's good. And now we're going to actually select the instructions. So for this particular report, all we got to do is have our list of instructions available. We'll move it over, and we'll tell it worksheets to send. In this case, I'm going to tell it we only want the vendor purchases. We don't need the home tab. And once that's in there, I can just hit send now, and it'll send it out there. And if I save this report with that attached to it like I just did, it'll just be there the next time. All right, so we sent it out there. Let's take a quick look and see if it's there. And here's our vendor purchases, dated 8/11. And sure enough, we got just the one tab. So there's our report. All right, that is the kind of a quick tour on Sage Intelligence. Covered a lot of ground there. And there's a whole lot more to it than that. It's a very deep product. Does anybody have any questions?
Please remember, if you happen to be on something where you can't speak, you can use the chat window. So yeah, there are some questions in the chat window. So she's asking about the broadcast feature that BizNet has. So Bruce, the Biz broadcast that automatically sends out the reports every month, does it have an auto setup feature like that?
I don't think it does. I don't think it has an automatic email system. Somebody has to run the report.
Okay. Linda, did that answer your question? It's nowhere near, what it does have to generate the reports, I can tell you, is nowhere near as much as the Biz broadcast that you saw with Wendy, so last week. Are there any other questions? Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, I was wondering, Bruce had mentioned something about the report designer add-on, and so that is not something that would come with Sage 100. It's something that's purchased in addition.
What comes with Sage 100 is one report manager license. That comes free. That gives you access to just the basic canned reports, I believe. Correct, Bruce?
Yes. What it doesn't do, what the report designer doesn't do without the additional license purchase for the report designer is that part where I was dragging those lists out onto Excel and like I built that balance sheet from the category level, it doesn't do that without the designer license, the report designer add-in license.
Okay, Bruce, this is Tricia at Elope. Could you send us a quote for that for 3 licenses?
For the report designer?
The designer license, this is Sherry, Tricia. I would handle the quote. The designer license is a site license, so you only need one designer license per site. Report manager, so you would need, you have one free report manager, so you would need 2 additional report managers and a designer, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll get that together. I'll request that quote from Sage.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Well, I think that clears it up. If anything comes to mind, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can either email me at spalumbo@goism.com or at am for account manager, am@goism.com. Feel free to reach out to me. And actually, let me amend that. I am going to be on vacation for a few days beginning tomorrow. So any questions that you would have, I would prefer that you send them to am@goism.com because that mailbox will be monitored in my absence. So if anything comes up, please feel free to reach out. And if that's it, Bruce, I want to thank you for a wonderful presentation, and thank you everyone for giving us your time today. Please go out to our webinar calendar. We have a lot of great webinars this month, and join us again. Thank you.
Thanks. That was very interesting.
Thank you, everyone.